When I was 9 years old, I came home from school one day to find my mom and grandpa sitting at the kitchen table. They had bad news for me. My dad had gone missing. He had gone on a weekend hunting trip with my uncle. They were about half a mile into the woods near a place called Quetta when my dad realized he forgot his grunter in the truck. A grunter is like a duck whistle, but it sounds like a deer's call. He told Uncle Mark to wait while he walked back to the truck, but he never came back. Uncle Mark said he waited about 20 to 30 minutes, then got worried and went back to the truck, but my dad wasn't there. That night, Uncle Mark called for help. Every sheriff's deputy from McDowell County came up into the hills to look for him. The search lasted 2 weeks, but no one found a single trace. Eventually, they had to stop looking. Even after the search ended, my mom never gave up. She kept my dad's name on the missing persons list for years. The whole family helped pay for a private investigator. He was a retired police officer from Charleston, and he worked hard, but he couldn't find anything new, except for one thing. He believed my dad may have walked too far and fallen into an old mine shaft near a place called Cucumber. These mine shafts were deep holes in the ground from old mining operations. Some had been searched by expert teams. Others were too dangerous to enter, so search dogs were sent in. Still, no sign of my dad was ever found. But the investigator also found something strange. In one of the mine shafts, there was graffiti, symbols and markings that didn't look normal. He thought maybe some local teens had used the mine as a hangout. Maybe they saw something or knew something, but he couldn't find any of them to ask. Uncle Mark helped as much as he could, but losing my dad hit him hard. People told him it wasn't his fault and he had done everything he could. Still, he was never the same after that. I didn't know all the details when I was a kid, but over the years, I learned everything. My mom finally declared my dad legally dead. It was hard for all of us. When I was 22, my sister had gone off to college and I was working full-time in a repair shop. I hadn't seen Uncle Mark in years. He sent birthday cards and would call Mom around the time my dad went missing. But that was about it. Until one day, Mom told me he called and wanted to talk to me. I drove out to his place near Filbert. I had been worried that he might be broken down or drinking too much, but when I saw him, he looked good, clear-headed and healthy. We sat, talked, shared sandwiches and beer, and slowly the conversation drifted to my dad. Then, out of nowhere, Uncle Lee asked if I wanted to go with him to the place where my dad had disappeared. He said he'd been there a few times. It didn't help him find anything, but it helped him feel a little better. At first, I didn't want to go. I thought it would be too painful. But over time, I started to think it might give me some closure too. After a few months, I told Uncle Mark I was ready. We planned a hike into the hills near Quetta on a Saturday morning in May. We brought some beer and food and tried to treat it like a regular hike. I was nervous at first, but once we got walking, I saw that the woods weren't as scary as I remembered. We hiked for a while, then stopped at a creek to rest. That's when I thought we were halfway and ready to head back. But Uncle Mark had something else in mind. He wanted to show me the exact place where my dad was last seen. We walked a little further and came to a rocky cliff that looked over the old mines. That's when Uncle Mark told me something he had never told anyone else, not even my mom. He said the last time he saw my dad, he wasn't just walking back to the truck. He had seen him walking into one of those old mine shafts. Uncle Mark had chased after him, ran into the mine with a flashlight. But my dad was gone. The place felt strange, he said. Creepy. There was no graffiti like the investigator mentioned, but something about the tunnel gave him a very bad feeling. That moment haunted Uncle Mark for years. I thanked him for being honest, even though it was hard to hear. Then he asked if I wanted to go down to the mine shaft with him. He said visiting helped him feel less pain. I thought about it. We were already there, so I agreed. We walked carefully down the slope. The entrance to the mine looked like a jagged mouth. Warning signs were posted everywhere. Danger, stay out. Inside, the mine was cold and dark. I had a tiny flashlight on my keychain. It barely lit anything, but I still stepped inside. Uncle Mark stayed near the entrance. I walked in slowly, shining my flashlight. Then I turned around to check on him and saw something that chilled me to my bones. He was holding a gun. His hand was shaking. I wanted to believe it was for protection, but he didn't say anything. He didn't move, and I knew I wasn't safe. I turned and ran deeper into the tunnel. Gunshots echoed behind me. The sound exploded in the narrow walls. I felt a bullet fly past me. I turned off my flashlight so he couldn't aim at me. I ran blindly, my heart pounding. I saw a bullet hit something and light up the tunnel for a split second, just enough to show me 3 paths ahead. I chose one and ran as fast as I could. Once I was sure he couldn't see me, I turned my flashlight back on and looked for a place to hide. I found a small chamber off the tunnel and tucked myself into a corner. I could hear my own breathing. I was terrified. My ears were ringing from the shots. I thought I was trapped. Then I heard his footsteps. He was calling my name, telling me to come out, not to talk, not to explain, just telling me that he was going to find me. I stayed perfectly still. Then his voice changed. He said a name, not my name. He said John, my dad's name. That's when I knew. He wasn't hunting me. He thought I was my dad. Something had broken inside Uncle Mark. He wasn't himself anymore. And then, something else happened. We both heard a sound deep in the mine, rocks shifting. Then a warm wind rushed past me. It smelled horrible, worse than death, like burning, rot, and something wrong, something ancient. Then I heard Mark yelling again. He said, "He's here, I brought him, I did what you asked." He kept screaming. His voice turned from shouting into something like pain, real, awful pain. I used that chance to run. I didn't stop. I ran until I saw daylight. His screams faded behind me. When I reached my truck, I sat in the driver's seat, shaking. Later, I called the sheriff and told them everything. They searched the mine. They found bullet casings and our footprints. But Uncle Mark was gone, just like my dad. Now I believe. There's something in those mines, something dark, something that took my dad. And maybe took Uncle Lee too. The experts said it was just gas, something that made him confused, made him attack me. But I know what I saw, and I know what I heard. There's something out there, deep in the Appalachian Mountains, that's better left alone.